making a box to house some signs that I'm making for our Ranger code. And this is the sides of the box. These are the ends of the box. I'll make two of these, which will give me the four sides. They're both, each one's a little bit different. And then these two ends are the same. I could have just duplicated it, but I'll basically cut that twice and then cut this once, and that will give me all six sides to my box. This is the handle up here, and then these are the skids that go around the box. And so we'll zoom in here a little bit on the box. It's basically 24 inches long. The signs themselves are right at 23 inches. So that gives me about a half inch of space inside the box. And the signs are like 7¼ inches wide. So it gives me about 3/4 of an inch inside the box on that other dimension. These are the skids. They're basically box jointed and they fit in there approximately 3 inches from the end. And then this is a handle. It's about 2.5 inches tall and it's right at 11 and just under 12 inches, about 11.5 inches long in there. This is made out of cedar fence pickets and they're, like you said, they're box jointed. And this is a 1/4 inch plywood. It's underlayment plywood, and it's designed to be cut right here at the end after it's glued together. And these are all box joints, 1 inch box joints all the way around. So it's a pretty strong box. Then I have two screws that come up from the bottom into the handle, and this makes the skid so that it's not sitting on the ground. And then this is a hinge in here. The hinges so that this part goes down, and then there's a hasp at the top of it. Right up here at the top, it has a little hasp that locks the two together. And the handle's centered, so it does a good job. I made two of these boxes now, and I've kind of taken this and set it up where I can create more of these. I do a frontiersman camping fellowship, and I have a lot of gear that's 1800 style gear. So the stakes, all kinds of different things, lanterns can go into boxes like this, and that'll keep them from getting tore up, getting gear from being broken. Anyway, that's what we're doing with this, and having fun with it. All right, Aspire code storage box, 24 by 17 inches wide. I've been making some Ranger code signs, and I wanted a box to store them in. And basically what I did is I used the box creator, and I had it make a box that created, it created all these right here, plus a couple more. And I've learned a long time ago with the box creator, all you need is the one of each, and then you can just, carve it again. So that makes it easy. Then these are the ends, which I could have just put one and carved it again twice, but it was about on the same piece of material. So that worked out fine. Then over here, I had some skids that would wrap around this box, and they would wrap around all four sides of this. They'd be about 3 inches from the ends, and that would allow that to set up off the ground if it was wet. And then also put and then in the middle of these skids, I would cut the end of the box off about right in here on the table saw, all the way through all four of these little box joints. And that would allow me to put hinges and a hasp on there so that the end of the box would open up. It looks kind of like a top hat. And in the process that I made this handle, and the handle is just has the whole slot, and that all fits in there. But with my material, I created jigs out 1/4 inch plywood to put all these pieces in so that I could reproduce them. And the jigs, when you just cut your material the width of the board right here, and then the jig's just a little bit bigger than this, what that does is that gives you where you can cut a bunch of raw boards of this size, and they just fit down inside your 1/4 inch, and then you can attach it down, but that will lock it all up so you can either flip it or whatever you want to. So that works out real well. Same went with these box joints on this. Basically, after I did the box joint, I had to, cut off the ends of it, or the little teeth that are on the bottom, and did that. I had originally had this file tiled, and where I would tile these all, on about an 8-foot board. And the gadget, box creator gadget, was seeming to have some interference with that, especially when I added the sheets to it. Because sometimes when I was doing the tool paths and using a box gadget, it would take some of the tool paths from this file right here and put them on this one here, and it would set them over here. But either way, it would create them, and so I was having some issues with that even when I got out of the program back into it. But that was with the the tiling tool path turned on right over here, and this file, after about the third or fourth time, I think it cleared its throat and it started behaving properly. But when it went to your seat size, it didn't remember the settings of the sheets. And so if you go in here and you click up there and you do your material and your sheet size in 2D view or in the drawing mode, you come up here and look at that, it still shows it various. So it's kind of a funny deal. When I was trying to do the box creator, it would kind of leave me hanging out there with that. And then for that very reason, also I changed my the box creator likes to have the datum down here in the corner, and I basically, once I changed that, it changed it on all the sheets. So the datum kind of needs to be set, in my opinion, for each sheet, because sometimes you wouldn't want the datum to be up here in the middle. Sometimes you want it down on the lower left. But anyway, that's some things that I've been working through and getting through on this thing. My tool paths were basically pretty simple. Just cut out the box joints, and then it would cut out the handle, and then I would run a V groove on it. Let's look at the tool paths on that one. So there's your handhold, then there's the jig, and then there's your handle in here, and then the V bit went and chamfered all the edges. So I basically did it like a two-sided machining on this. I just flipped it end for end, and then ran it again, keeping this base here the same, so then it chamfered these edges, and it worked. So that was kind of what we were doing. Made a nice box, and you'll see the picture of that here in just a little bit. Okay, this is the Ranger Code. Alert clean, honest, courageous, that kind of a thing. This is wide fence pickets, Western cedar. Got them for Lowe's. They're about $6 for a 6-foot piece. I can make 3 signs out of one deal. So this is all right at $18 or so in material. And got a little paint in it and a little bit of Helmsman spray varnish in there and some CNC time. These take about 30 minutes per sign to route out, and not much time, but with my hands on it, other than loading the piece up and doing something in the shop and then letting it rip. I sprayed this with Helmsman, let it dry for about an hour, and then I went over it with mineral spirits, just wiped it wet, sprayed it with the black spray paint, and some of that Walmart just the cheapy stuff that we use for like derbies, and it's indoor outdoor, and that then I seal both sides of it. I'm letting this dry, then I'll seal it one more time with the Helmsman, and then I'll put a piece of paracord in here, probably some red or black or blue, whatever, and to put them in there, and that will be what they'll hang on the signs. And this will be a stevedore knot up here in these holes. There's a hole on the top of it that the paracord comes up, and then I'm making a box over here out of this 4-inch plywood is a remainder from what I put in the trailer, so it's about right. Looks like I didn't quite figure a wide enough piece there. So there you go. End up wasting some of it. There we go. Got it here first. All right. Made up a second batch of these signs. This one I think I'd been better off just to have carved it and then run it and painted it and then just run it through the sander. And so I think that I like how that came out. It's just got a little bit of black in it, and then I cleared it, hit it with some helmsman varnish. There's 8 of these. This is the Ranger Code. And then I made this box. This is made out of 1/4-inch Luan, or it's actually floor underlayment is what it is. It's got some birch plywood in it. And I at one time thought it was a waterproof material, but it's not. It's just a birch underlayment. But anyway, this is all box jointed. And this is some cedar from the signs. The signs run me about $3 for $6. So I've got about $20, maybe $25 of material in it. This came from some scrap material that I had. Got a handle in it. And the way this works is this is some old hardware that I had that's been used. And they slip inside there and buttons up. Left a little bit of air to draw because a lot of times these will be put back in when they're probably wet. So I wanted a little bit of ventilation in there around there. So anyway, good. And there's the box down inside that. It's all box jointed. So I'll stay strong and glued. This has all been glued with glue, and then also I was having trouble with my miters. My wife showed up and I glued this and put it on, and I found out that my pieces were just a little bit long, so my second batch was not so much. But anyway, it's just a rough old box, so you didn't really care too much about it. But I'll fill the space with some shims just to see how they'd hold up. But it's glued. They ought to stay together. So anyway, there's another project done. It's probably about a $25 or $30 in materials and hardware. And there you go. And they just slip inside there, and then it'll collapse shut. Okay, when I'm cutting these things, I like to make just a 1/4-inch plywood jig. I just call it a jig, whatever it is. And I will put a couple cams on it. Every now and then I'll put a screw in it, but that'll keep it from shifting either way. And it makes it more repeatable, so I can just keep doing it. Now what I do is I tack that down with a pin nailer, and then of course it's held by a couple screws and the toggos. But that works out real well. And if I use centers on everything, it all centers in the material, no matter if I'm using scrap like in this case. It'll work itself out. Then I'll generally will write on here what this jig's for and where the front of it is, and that it works off center. So anyway, so I'm getting ready to cut these box joints for the sled. That's what I'm making over there is some skids go around here. Go around it. I'm just making box joints on the edges and going with that. I built out some handles last night and just made a jig to make them up. So I'm probably going to make quite a few of these boxes. So I'm tent stakes, just different things, lantern boxes, things like that. So that's what I'm looking at. Alright, so I've cut 8 more of these signs, so I've made this little jig, made a jig template in V-car with my rough stock fits down into. I just screwed it down. I'm using centers off of my board, so if I ever lose it, I can just go right back corner to corner. And I've got 8 more of these signs to cut out. These are fence pickets. They are warping a little bit. And I put the saw curve right at the edge of them and using washers to hold it down. And we'll go ahead and let her rip, tater chip.